you actually raised a very important point, because I think that's a relevant point, especially for people who are looking at investing in India as fresh investments, or even people who are looking at incremental investments. Policy continuity, tax certainty, policy predictability, political continuity as well. Decisions that you may have taken may get overturned by another government, by another dispensation, as was the case with Sumant. In this case, it actually worked to his advantage. But, you know, how do you allay those apprehensions? How do you allay some of those concerns that investors may have?
I mean, that is a challenge for the entire political system. I mean, if you look at it globally, to be fair, I think the Indian political system definitely looks a lot better. Saying that, I believe that there's greater maturity now coming in, and it requires greater discussion. But behind, you know, all the investments, we're talking about, you know, X amount of dollars or Y amount of land that's required. But the most fundamental point is the number of jobs we're going to create. And that is the narrative that this time around, as a state, we're very focused upon. It's important to explain to people that what's the impact that each of these investments will have and the kind of jobs it's going to create. So you create a very strong momentum so that things cannot be overturned. Yes, things have been reversed in the past, but I believe it's been an isolated incident for Andhra Pradesh in one administration. But look at it. Look at Hyderabad. What are the foundations that Mr. Naidu laid in '94 have been continued. And look at the city today. Look at the state today. It has the highest per capita income in India. Because the narrative was set. So it's equally important for the politicians to not just look at this from an investment perspective, but also build a narrative so strong that whoever comes, I believe that there'll never be a change in Andhra Pradesh. India will be governing Andhra Pradesh for the foreseeable future. Saying that it's important to ensure that a strong narrative is there and we are able to convince people at every point as we go forward.
And that's an important point that you make. So I just want to build a little bit on this narrative that you want to build on the back of the jobs that these investments will create. What's part of that package? Jobs, of course, will be one pillar, but what's part of the package that you're going to be communicating? Not just domestically, but internationally as well.
No, see, as a state, we have a clear direction, right? We have the Swarnandhra mission, which is where we see Andhra Pradesh in 2047. So we have clear targets, we have clear sectors. You know, we just spoke about manufacturing and the importance of, you know, speed in manufacturing. I also believe that the way we have looked at it is a cluster-based approach. I've had opportunity to share that with you. And that's where we are working with Renew, and they've been supporting our initiative on a rapid prototyping center, which we want to bring in from Sydney and bring it into their ecosystem. So we are working on a very cluster-based approach where there's a tight integration between verticals and horizontals. Horizontal is education, you know, certification, and so on and so forth. Verticals are all the different components and the players who are there, who make up the entire ecosystem, which I truly believe is missing in India as we speak. And that's why we are struggling with manufacturing. We are not at the pace at which we should be as a nation. And I believe the experiment that we are doing in Andhra Pradesh could be a model that can be replicated in India.
You know, Sanjay, I want to go back to the point that was just being made there by Lokesh about jobs and the importance of tying that up to the narrative of drawing in investments. There's a lot of concern around AI and what AI could do to jobs, but equally there's optimism around the kinds of new jobs that AI could perhaps create. We've seen that happen with YouTube. We've seen a whole creator economy blossom on account of the opportunities that has thrown up. But as we ready ourselves for this AI future, what will the imperatives be from your standpoint that we need to focus on? States like Andhra Pradesh, other states, India needs to focus on.
I think that's a good point. Before I get there, I just want to answer one question which Sumanta raised, or that point there. He has Lokesh's number, I don't. But still,
I'm going to get you to start a WhatsApp group now.
The speed is still the same. I think the point is, I think the governance is working because of transparency and commitment to get investment going. And that's a good point in favor of what Andhra is able to pull off. To come back to your question, it's such an important point what Lokesh made and you made. I think AI needs to be deployed not only for business productivity, but for governance in the state. And I think that's an important thing we shouldn't lose sight of. And what do people want in society? They want good governance, they want jobs, they want better incomes. And I feel AI-powered governance is the really way forward. And I have 4 themes around there, which I'll call AI-powered, what I call Seva. The S stand for Sarkar. Run a better Sarkar. I think RGTS is a good example of what you do in Andhra, but I think to me that needs to become for every person in the state. Everybody should see I can reach out even without having a number, get my problem solved, and find the right information. Second is E, which is e-safety or e-security. The biggest issue in the future would be that will be the challenges on cybersecurity and information and data. How do you ensure that AI is used to power that? The third is W, which is workforce. We need to have AI-ready workforce. We need to get our young children to use AI from a young age and teachers, so that we have that workforce ready from 5 years and 10 years from now. And third is what I call A is agriculture, health, mobility, but transform all these. Because we can improve productivity of agriculture using AI. We can transform health using AI. We can transform mobility using AI. Or urban development using AI. So I feel we need to get ready together as basically whether it is people who are creating applications or people like us or governance to do AI Seva, to really make a difference. If society is happy, if people are happy, if I earn more money, then I'm willing to believe and invest more time and energy.
No, absolutely. That's a great point that you make. Technology for the sake of technology has no purpose. It has to be put to use for people. I'm going to get wrap-up comments from each one of you. And Jatin, let me start by asking you, since we're talking about the fast lane, investing at the speed of growth, you're a numbers man. So what is the one number that we should focus on from the state's point of view that they should get done?
From state's point of view, not from cognizant point of view?
Both. It could be cognizant and what cognizant can do for the state.
I think jobs is one thing, but I would say slightly differently. I think, as I mentioned, rebirth of services. I think what we should see is what we are getting to Vizag in terms of different services, newer services, which can run for another 25 years, which can create next set of entrepreneurs and next set of professionals that IT services creators started from here. So I think the key is not so much quantitative to your question, but qualitatively why the new services should come to Vizag. And I'll just take one more minute. The fear of, I can assure you people sitting in this room and watching that, take this fear of jobs around AI out. We have been here when package implementation first came. People said, you are doing all application development. If now there is SAP Oracle, who will come to you? When cloud came, we were managing millions of network elements, databases, and servers on premise. People said, who will come to you now for infrastructure management? Now it's cloud. So why AI should be different? Let's just take on. We have built an industry which has grown every year for the last 25 years. AI, I'm telling you, is a rebirth. It's a rejuvenation of the industry that we want to bank on.
Well, so don't get carried away by the obituaries that are being written on account of AI, of many sectors and many jobs and tasks. So Ketu, your prescription for the road ahead.
I think the simple prescription is, I think Lokesh said something really important. How do you build the ecosystem that can deliver on a particular vertical? So let me give you an example. I can go to Shenzhen and design a drone, get the software for it, scale it up, and launch it in 4 weeks or less. So the first thing is to decide which areas are you going to compete on. Now, what does it require? I'm a supply chain guy, so it's a pretty boring business. We go all the way from product design to planning to distribution to assembly to energy and bring it all together. And then the last most important thing is talent. There is no shortage of talent in India right now. But the other areas, you have to decide that I'm going after this sector and I'm going to reduce the time. I would say anything that takes longer than 12 weeks to execute is too long. What used to be years is months. What used to be months is weeks. And what used to be weeks, Google has, I think they've changed the time clock. It's what, milliseconds, nano? I don't know what they did, but it runs faster. So those are what I would call strategic choices to make if you're going to take advantage of what you have. And we have seen it consistently that if you do that, the payoff is non-trivial. It's not a linear payoff model. It's an exponential payoff model. But
Suma?
it's a choice.
It is a choice. You're absolutely right.
Look,
My suggestion would be that while industry is coming in, ecosystem is being created, etc. That's all, of course, terrific. It's very critical. We need to have faster GDP growth, but the GDP growth also needs to be inclusive, and we need to make sure that we take people along. And I think that is critical because to build a great state takes time, takes multiple election cycles, which all have to be won as well. And so people have to see the tangible benefit of all the stuff that is going on. I think that is very critical. And I think the Honorable Prime Minister has been very good at that in our sector, for example, by coming out with the PM Kusum scheme, which deals with the farmers, by the rooftop scheme, which therefore touches every individual. So I think that is something that I'm sure that Lokesh and the Honorable Chief Minister are thinking about. But I think that is really critical because as your previous question was, how do you ensure continuity?
Yeah.
This is one way to ensure that continuity. And I think that is critical because all of us make long-term decisions.
Yes, long-term decisions indeed, and ones that have to be strategic and smart. Lokesh, I'll give you the final word then. If we are going to head on to the fast lane, where are we today in terms of which gear you believe the government is at and which gear would you like to be and how soon can you get to that?
Before I answer your question, I think what Sumanji said is a very, very important point. And that's where CM came out with this P4 program. So in the past, we had P3, a private-public partnership. Now add people to it.
Yeah.
Look at any developed country, right? The gap between the haves and have-nots is just growing. And that's where we believe that all of us have a greater role to play, a greater commitment to society. It's part of our Indian culture. It's not simply about giving a handout, but it's about counseling, guiding, nurturing those aspirations and pulling people out of the cycle of poverty. Generally we see a trend where, I made X amount of money, I want to give this much money back. Yes, that is important, but more important is people committing time to pull people out of that cycle. So that's something that we are pioneering in the state of Andhra Pradesh, and it's a passion project again for our Chief Minister, Mr. Naidu. So as a state, coming back to your question, I believe we are still in second gear. I don't believe we are in the sixth gear. I see that my secretary has walked out on me now. But I believe this is the beginning. This is the new India. I believe that India can show the way. I believe that India can lead in clear sectors. And if India has to lead, states have to lead. And states like Andhra Pradesh have a very, very important role to play. And I keep telling my entire team, the group of ministers which I chair, that there is, if no risk, no reward and no story. We heard 3 stories today, and all this happened in 18 months because all of us together decided to challenge what the norm is. So that is the new Andhra Pradesh.
So 5 years on, what would the Andhra Pradesh story look like?
So the aspiration, so we have about 1,000 projects in pipeline now. And our focus, as all the leaders on the dais have said, is to focus on execution. This, we believe, will actually take us to the $500 billion mark in terms of GDP. So that is what I believe the true outcome by which we want to measure ourselves. And again, just to go back, as Sinhaji has said, it's important now to look at whether these fruits of these outcomes are actually translating down all the way to the farmer, to the housewife who's taking care of the house really well. We have to ensure that this translates to them. It creates, improves the quality of living and improves the per capita income.
Well, thank you very much to each one of you for sharing your individual stories, but more importantly, sharing the roadmap that you believe that India and the state of Andhra Pradesh must take forward to ensure that we see faster growth, we see better quality of growth, and we see more secular and inclusive growth. And as must have been very evident here, I am going to start a WhatsApp group. I shall be the admin. I shall be the admin of that group, at least as far as this particular panel is concerned, and maybe see more stories flourish, not just in the state of Andhra Pradesh, but of course in India. From all of us here, from Davos, from the Davos Dialogue and the Davos Debate, many thanks for watching. Stay tuned to CNBC TV 18. We'll be right back with you. The news continues.